Hey, it's John Feiner here with the green truck, the 1972 Chevy C10. As you can see, we've done some more prep for the interior restoration. We've got the windows out, the doors off, and we are in the final stages of prep. We've got the floor and kick panel repairs done. We've smoothed out the door sill here, so it'll look nice once it's all painted. And really, we're just down to removing a few little odds and ends, masking stuff off, and sanding. We've got a couple little specific things we got to take care of. So we took the windows out because I peeked under and saw we had some rust. And there's little things like this. We're going to chip out this old seam sealer. We're going to replace that, get that down in to seal it, and then we'll smooth all this out with a little bit of body filler. This Evercoat body filler we've been using has been really nice to work with. And from there, it's just a little bit of cleanup. We're going to make this the same green as the rest of the interior, and the new dash pad will be black to match the rest of the interior instead of that original tan. And so yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. Okay, so we've got the old seam sealer and body filler out. So there's a few places that they hide this. You've got this here at each top corner of the windshield. You've got one down at the bottom. And then they fill this whole section with seam sealer and kind of taper it off down into here where it'll then drip down. I don't think I'm going to put it as thick. I don't see a need for it. I'm just going to fill this in, and that way it can run down, I think, a little more efficiently. We got Rose over here. She's taking the wiper system out. So that's out of the way and we can clean it up. We've got a seam here, and then one here. And one here. Now this is interesting. If you look, there's a huge gap here. I mean, just huge. And I don't even think this separated over time because this entire gap was full of seam sealer. So we're going to see if we can get that pushed up a little bit and then seam seal it so it's better than when it came out of the factory. Also, this whole channel gets some seam sealer. And that's pretty much it. There's some down here, but we'll touch this up. Anyways, this is what it looks like once you get it all off, and all the different places to look for it. And I mean, you can see water's been getting under there, so let's get that all cleaned up and start from scratch, which is the whole point of taking the windshield out to do this. I mean, there's all this buildup from old seals.
Daddy, I'm done.
All right, good job. There's all this dirt that's gotten down in here. Get the glass out to paint. We're getting really close to painting. We're in the final stages of prep. I wanted to show you guys a couple things real quick. And one is any smooth existing paint that you can just paint right over, you want to make sure you scuff it up first. So you can see here where I've done a first pass, and I'm basically just wet sanding with 600 grit paper, and you can see there's still some shiny spots. So this is what I want to show you guys. Make sure you get all this out. You want to make sure it's all looking like that. It's scuffed up real good. Again, I'm using 600 grit wet sanding, and that's going to make sure that your paint is sticking properly. As you can see, there's a lot of other prep to do. Got to get a little bit more gunk off. Got to prime some bare areas. Another thing I wanted to show you guys is as I'm doing this, that's still a mess. I gotta clean that up. But you'll find some areas where you've got some scratches or whatever. And these, as you're scuffing the old paint, and you come across them, you're going to want to get a rougher grit sandpaper and blend those so that you can't see or feel the scratch anymore. Because if you can see it and you can feel it, and by see it I mean the lip, but if you can feel it, that's going to transfer through in your color coat. So you want to make sure you blend those out, and if you end up going down the bare metal, like here where the switch was, then you just need to hit that with some primer before you do your clear coat, or not your clear coat, but your color coat. All right, so we've got the last of the prep done. All we have left is to do the final cleaning. I've already taken one pass at it. What I'm using for the final clean is this surface prep wipe. So got everything sanded down to where we can primer it. All the paint that's going to be usable for a base coat has been scuffed, and then any bare spots we'll primer. And all the old paint from a paint job I did forever ago, we've got that all sanded down. That's all going to get primer. And I haven't been taking video of that process because it's just tedious. There's no sense in anybody watching it. But you do need to work your way through various grits. So for like all the rough sanding for the body filler, you're doing an 80 grit, then a 180 on top of that, and then before you use your primer, the last grit you want to use is a 320. So that's the stage we're at. We've done those. We're at the 320. Now we just need to get the final clean and put the primer down. Okay, so as I was doing final wipe down, I thought of a couple things to pass along. Excuse the background noise, my heater's running. I'm trying to keep it at 70 degrees or up in here. So as you're wiping down, what I'm using is a microfiber towel so I don't leave any lint behind. And what I'm doing is just constantly moving around. So if I start seeing any kind of coloration from either the old paint primer or grease, dirt, whatever, or even debris like these little leaves and flower pieces, I move into a clean section. That's the whole idea. You want to remove all of this stuff, and you don't want to just smear it around and spread it. You want to remove it. So you can see that the microfiber does a good job of catching the pieces of debris, and it pulls up the grease really nice with this surface prep. I'm also using chemical gloves. My regular rubber gloves that I use for other things, like when I'm working with the body filler or paint, they dissolve too quickly. I'm also using a respirator. My first pass, I forgot to use that, and it is quite fumey, so you do want to use that, not just with the paint, but with this prep stuff. So as I start primering, I will be wiping everything down as I go with a tack cloth, just to remove anything that's settled in the air. I did make sure that I did the final vacuum and blew everything down with an air hose. I did that last night. That way everything could settle. Now I've done did the drop cloths, and then once I was done with that and the masking, that's when I did the final wipe down. So that was just kind of the idea there in doing it in that order, was to eliminate as much airborne dust as possible. So this is the primer we're going to use for the bare metal and anything else that needs a little bit of filling. So they call it the rapid filler primer, and this is supposed to be a rattle can version of a professional application. So this little button here you put on the bottom of the can and snap it in place, and it activates the two different parts of the paint. So it'll apply like a what am I trying to say here? It's convenient like a rattle can. You don't have to have all that equipment for spraying and all that. and you can do smaller batches, but it will act and spray because of the tip they've got designed. It's supposed to spray very similar to a professional paint system. So I'm going to try it out and see how this works.